Let's talk about that quiet little mystery that unfolds in so many of our homes. You know the one. Why do our houseplants, the ones we try so hard to take care of, just end up struggling? Well, I'm going to tell you, the answer has nothing to do with having a green thumb. It's actually about a huge misunderstanding of what plants really truly need.
So picture this. You walk past your plant every single day, right? It's just there. It's part of the furniture. You might glance at it, maybe touch a leaf, and you just kind of assume, yep, everything's fine. And at first glance, nothing is wrong. I mean, the plant is still standing up, the leaves are mostly green, there are no big, scary yellow spots or anything wilting dramatically, it's not dead, but, it's not really living either, is it? It just looks stuck. But you get that feeling, that little nagging voice in the back of your head. You look a little closer, you notice that growth has totally stalled. Any new leaves that do come out seem smaller, and that really vibrant color it had when you first brought it home, yeah, that's just a little bit faded now. And it all boils down to this one simple question. Why isn't it thriving? The answer, and this might surprise you, isn't really about something you're doing wrong. It's about the very space the plant is trying to survive in. And that right there, that brings us to the first major clue in this whole investigation. The very comfort and stability that we build into our homes for ourselves, well, that's often the exact source of the problem for our plants. Okay, so here's the fundamental conflict. Look on the left. That's our ideal home, right? Stable temperature, predictable, comfortable. But then look on the right. That's the world plants actually evolved in. It's a dynamic, ever-changing system where a breeze, a rainstorm, the sun moving across the sky, those aren't just weather. They're messages, they're information, telling the plant exactly what to do. So let's get one thing straight. This is not your fault. You are not a bad plant parent. You've just done a really, really good job of creating a perfect environment for a human, which, unfortunately, strips away all those vital signals a plant depends on to function. So let's actually dig into that. We're going to go full detective here and look at 3 invisible stressors in your home that are probably affecting your plant right now. Light, air, and temperature. First on the list is light. Now, when a plant isn't getting enough light, it does this thing called etiolation. It gets all long and spindly and stretched out. A lot of us mistake this for growth, like, oh, look, it's getting taller. But it's actually a panic response. The plant is desperately, frantically reaching for an energy source it just can't find. And this chart explains everything. It really shows you why our human perception is so far off. Look at the light intensity. Direct sun outside, that's over 50,000 lux. Even just sitting in the shade on your porch, a plant is getting around 10,000. Now, look all the way over at your room. That spot by the window you think is super bright, it might be getting 200 lux. 200. For a plant, that's not just a little dim. That is a full-blown energy crisis. You see, this whole mystery really comes down to a translation error between what we feel and what the plant experiences. What we call a bright room, the plant experiences as a low-energy desert. What we call still air, the plant feels as, I can't breathe. And our cozy, stable temperature, well, for the plant that means no signals, no cues to tell its metabolism what to do. And let's talk about that still air for a second. With zero air movement, this tiny, stagnant bubble of air forms around every single leaf. It's called a boundary layer, and this bubble traps old air and prevents fresh carbon dioxide from getting to the leaf's pores. It's literally suffocating it, right there in plain sight. Okay, so we've established the air up top is a problem. But believe it or not, the story gets even more serious when we look below the surface, into that hidden world inside the pot.
We always think watering is giving life, but without proper airflow in the soil, it can do the exact opposite. So you water your plant. Instantly, all those little air pockets in the soil fill up with water. Now the soil is waterlogged. As a result, the oxygen that was in those pockets is gone. And without oxygen, the roots can't breathe, they can't function, and they literally begin to suffocate.
So here's the thing you have to remember. What's happening in that pot is a constant battle. The roots aren't just there to drink water. They desperately need to breathe oxygen too. And every time you water before that soil has a chance to dry out, you're tipping the scales towards suffocation.
And all of this, it leads to that moment every single plant owner dreads. The plants seem fine for weeks, maybe even months, and then boom, overnight it just collapses. But here's the secret. It wasn't sudden at all.
The truth is, this slow, invisible decline has been happening the whole time. For weeks, the plant was in a low-energy state, just burning through its savings to stay alive. It was compensating. But then it hits a tipping point. The damage is too much, the energy runs out, and the internal system just fails. That visible collapse you see at the end, that was actually decided weeks ago.
So when you say to yourself, but it looked fine yesterday, you're not wrong, from what you could see. The visible signs weren't there yet, but the plant's biological system had been struggling for a long, long time. You were just, locked out from seeing those early warning signals.
So, what on earth do we do about all this? Well, the solution isn't another checklist of things to do. It's a massive shift in how you see this whole thing, from focusing on your actions to understanding the plant's environment as one complete system.
We're all taught to ask questions based on a schedule, right? The number one question is always, how often should I water it? It feels like the right thing to ask, but it's totally focused on us and our routine, not what the plant actually needs in that moment. The much, much better question to ask is this: has the system reset? In other words, has the soil dried out enough for oxygen to get back to the roots? This one simple change in thinking moves you away from a rigid, unhelpful schedule to actually observing and responding to the plant's reality.
And this all leads to 4 really simple but powerful principles. Start thinking of light not as just brightness, but as energy. Think of air not as empty space, but as critical flow. Temperature isn't a static number, it's a cycle. And water isn't just hydration, it's one part of a wet and dry cycle that lets the plant breathe.
And this, right here, this is the big takeaway. Successful plant care was never about forcing a plant to grow. It's about being a good detective, identifying and removing the barriers in its environment, the dim light, the still air, the soggy soil, and then just getting out of the way and letting the plant do what it was born to do.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Tonight, I want you to take a look around your home, not like you're decorating, but like you're a biologist, and just ask yourself, is this environment I've created actually supporting life, or is it silently limiting it? The answer is right there, just waiting for you to see it.